thanks for joining us today. It's nice to have you again here. And also thank you for joining us for the Change in the Ratio event that we had in November. It was really great.
I loved
to
it.
have you there. And
loved it.
It was really special for all our members to get to chat with you. And I think they are all very inspired by your work and your career and everything. So it was really great having you.
Thank you for saying that.
Of course. Yes. Today we're here to talk about this amazing song.
Yay.
From the beautiful film Come See Me in the Good Light, which has been it's on that shortlist, that Oscar shortlist, which is
crazy. It's crazy. It's an incredible journey already. Yeah.
I know. You have a kind of strong connection to music in visual media, which started I just started poking around in some things. So I'm going to get a little funny here. Okay. But this started back in 2004 when you appeared in a little indie film called Girl Play.
Girl Play and Loving Annabelle. Do you have that on there too?
No. Lesbian.
Yeah.
So, these things had to go back a long way for you. And I'm just curious, how did that project come to be? And did that spark an interest in writing for visual media for you?
For those of you who don't know what Girl Play is, so there were two pretty hot culty lesbian films of the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And I was featured in both of them. In Girl Play, I was featured as the singer in the bar, but they featured a song of mine called Undertow. And first of all, it was just very cool to see this film. And, at the time, there weren't that many queer films out celebrating love and, just human stories. So that was a very cool thing.
Yeah. And it was around the time you just released your first album, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And that's what those songs were off. So it was kind of cool.
Well, what I remember kind of piecing together from that time is, and I knew this as a consumer, but the right placement of a song can elevate both sort of entities. Each one gives something to the other. Yeah. So it's great for the song, and it can be great for the film or the television show or whatever it is. And so, I did feel that because it really felt, especially there's a song called Gravity that was featured in Loving Annabelle. And that's when that song, I was noticing something happening around that song that I didn't understand because it wasn't featured anywhere else on the radio or anything.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, your career's taken various different trajectories, but it's kind of interesting to see that it kind of somehow or other back all that time ago when you had your first album sort of started actually in visual media. So anyway, we'll come back to that. How did you come to be involved in Come See Me in the Good Light? And were you familiar with Andrea's work?
Yes. I love sharing this story because it feels very kismet. And I happened to be in Colorado during the time when Andrea had their final 2 shows at the Paramount Theater in Denver.
Okay.
My friend was going to the show, and I hadn't even realized it was happening. I wasn't intending to be in Colorado. I was going through some pretty tough personal stuff, and I ended up there. And so I bought a ticket, and I went just as a fan. I had been introduced to Andrea's work through Instagram, which I have a very love-hate relationship with.
I think we all do.
Oh my God. But thank you for Andrea's work. I got introduced to a lot of their video sort of blogs around the cancer diagnosis, and I couldn't get over how much humor and buoyancy they were able to weave into such a dark diagnosis. And I just was, I thought that was a part of why I think they're a miracle worker. But I ended up at that show, and at the show, I ran into Glennon Doyle and Abby Wambach, who I knew from the podcast. I had been a guest on their podcast. So Glennon and Abby invited me to join this team of executive producers, and they were trying to make this film in a different way and not go to big studios and not go to big, movie houses. They wanted it to stay very bespoke. They wanted it to be people who really loved Andrea and understood the mission. And so I said yes, and it has tumbled forward into so many beautiful unforeseen gifts. One of them being making a song with Andrea's unfinished poems, and Brandi Carlile that is now featured in the film.
Right. So, and I know that you definitely you like to kind of in the background get involved in a lot of different arts related things.
I'm a control freak. That's what you're saying. It's okay. I'm with you.
In a nice way.
Yeah.
In a way that you can in a way that I mean, that you can use your resources to
That's right.
fund the arts
Yes,
support the arts.
absolutely. I mean, that's been something that I've started doing more and more of, where I'm in this incredibly privileged position. I am so lucky. Of course, I worked my ass off, but I got lucky in a lot of ways. And I feel like the best way to pay it forward is to help other artists make the things they want to make.
Right.
It's a huge gift.
And I feel like a lot of people sort of think that, oh, if I, one day like make so much money that I can do something useful with it, then we all sort of dream of being able to do that. But it's nice to see that someone like yourself actually does that. So,
Thanks. I appreciate that.
yeah, my phone keeps on going off. It's really annoying. Anyway, let's see. I wanted to ask you, this was the first time you recorded with Brandi Carlile, right?
Yeah.
First. Did you know Brandi, and how did you bring her into it? And she's such an amazing collaborator, and she's such an advocate for other women artists.
Yeah.
And that's like her superpower,
Totally.
I think. And like, I'm just like so impressed with her as a human. And not, I mean, obviously as a songwriter, but I'm just wondering how that collaboration.
She's fine as a songwriter, but she's a great human.
She needed you. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
I know, just be clear, but
No, it was very organic, actually. The original conceit for the film was that the director, Ryan White, and Andrea had spoken about Andrea composing a new original poem just for the film.
okay.
And when they got to the end of the film, it sort of felt to them like their poetry quotient was sort of met, and the poem wasn't finished. And so Andrea had just sort of like collected a couple of pages of couplets, a few stanzas. There was a lot, thematically, it was a lot about their love of Meg, their partner. And the one thing Andrea said, so Brandi and I both being on the executive producing team were like, put me in, coach. Like I would love to sit with those unfinished, poetry, with that unfinished poetry, and see if there's a song to be made there.
Yeah.
And so after the first time I watched the film, I was stunned. I don't know how many of you have seen the film. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. And I have nothing to do with why the film is so beautiful. It's just the magic of these people.
It's poetic.
It is a truly life-affirming, for being about a queer poet who's gonna die of cancer. It is the funniest, most life-affirming, brilliant, poignant, just amazing portrait. I love it so, so, so much. So as soon as I saw the film, I was like, give me that poetry. And so I started sort of piecing things together. I made a first draft.
Did you always think you were going to write a song?
No.
No.
No, that wasn't. No, originally it was just like, do you want to help finance getting the film
Yeah.
made? And so I was like, yes.
Right.
And then
Do you think that they imagined that you were going to do that?
I don't know. Maybe. Did I get tricked?
In a good way.
Like for real.
The best way.
Yeah, totally. I'm just the ding dong who's like, sure, I'll give you my money. Yeah, no, I felt I didn't want to be presumptuous, I suppose, but it was just a really cool and like the easiest collaboration ever. Andrea was so easy, and then I sent the draft to Brandi, and we had a back and forth, and we changed some things, and then it was like done in 2 days. It was so great.
Yeah, it's funny how those things, when they start coming out,
Yeah.
they just kind of roll out, and that's
Because it's not always that way, as we all know. It's like can be really difficult sometimes.
Is like writing with someone like Brandi. I mean, like, I don't know. Is there kind of like I don't know, with two artists who are both very successful and have your own ways about doing things, it's just like when you go into a collaboration like that, how do you approach that songwriting process? Where you're not like, you're giving each other a place to exist and breathe and not step on each other's toes, but
I think the really beautiful piece of this collaboration was that we were both serving Andrea. The whole point of the collaboration was to uplift and just help amplify Andrea's work.
Right.
So it really, and Brandi and I have known each other a long time, and we have a lot of mutual admiration and respect. And so there was, I don't think either one of us could give a shit about like, but that's my line. I want that line in the song. Like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
So I think it was just about how do we make this something beautiful that will serve this beautiful person.
Right. And I guess also like when you approach you've got a lyric per se.
Yeah.
You've got the poetry, you've got the poem kind of thing. And like I'm curious, like when you're writing for your own like solo stuff, is it different to when you're writing not to a brief, but like for a for film, when you have like a visual kind of trigger, of sorts, and it's just like, is that different for you somehow, or is it the same kind of
I think
process?
it's different because it's in, the difference being that like you're sort of writing in response to something already. Whereas when you're just sitting alone, I don't know, the canvas feels more blank in some ways. And sometimes that's a good thing. And sometimes that's like a harrowing thing where you're like, I'm never going to have another fucking idea until the day
I never understand how writers write.
I don't either.
The whole concept of like just staring at a page or a computer screen, like it all started when.
I know. I don't know anything besides Once Upon a Time. Like, that's how everything begins, right?
Do you when you write for your solo stuff, do you start with lyrics or with music first, or is it a combination of things?
It's usually the music first.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if I sit down and don't have any idea what's happening, it's literally just putting my hands on the keys. Now they're both mangled right now. You guys, I fell the night before my wedding.
I fell. I can't get up.
I know. And I absolutely obliterated my left knee, but don't you worry, the slit in my dress was on my right leg. So I was all bandaged up. But
What did you do about this?
Well, I didn't know they were so fucked up until like 2 months later. And I'm like, my hands are not getting better. I have partial tears in my thumb and this finger. So we're trying to avoid surgery right now. So she's chic, everybody. She's chic.
That's not ideal for someone who plays piano.
No, but can you believe it? I can play the piano with these.
Good thing it's that finger. The good thing is just stretched up now. Maybe you shouldn't be considered. Oh my god. Oh dear. How about the recording process of the song? Like, how did you guys do that, and where did it take place, and what was that like?
This was so fast and furious because we were scrambling to get the song into the film before they submitted to Sundance. So I was in New York. Brandi was I think she was in LA. And so I went in with my friend Rob Moose, who I've worked with for a long time. He's a composer, an incredible guitar player, violinist, and he's got a great little studio in Brooklyn. So we went in and put some stuff together in a couple hours. Then he worked on it for a day and added some beautiful strings and some extra piano stuff. And then we sent the track to Brandi, and she was in the studio in LA. And then I was like, have at it. And then she sent back, we just discussed, she would sing the second verse, and then she sent it back. And it's like getting Brandi Carlile vocals in your inbox is a pretty good day.
Yeah, that's really something.
Totally.
Screenshot.
Yeah.
I love it. Do you typically, when you're when you're writing an album or when you're working on things, obviously, you songwriting. So, but how much do you like to get involved in production and like orchestration and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I'm pretty hands-on about everything.
Yeah.
I have found over the years there's a lot of liberation in, like, I think some of the ways in which I want to control are actually me having like a giant ego, and I should allow more space for what is real collaboration. And then there are times where I'm like, oh, I let go too much and I don't feel that I just don't feel that connected to the output. So for me as an artist, I am the happiest when I've been sort of in the trenches, kind of step by step.
Yeah.
I have very little patience for sitting in the mix, but that just is a part of it's like I don't like the studio that much. Like, some people love the studio. I don't like the studio. I like to like go in. I like it for like 3 days, and then I'm like, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah, mixing's very laborious.
Ugh,
Yeah.
the worst. We have mixers in here, engineers. How do you have daylight in your rooms? It's black. Oh my God. God bless you. I mean, we need you. We really need you. But yeah.
I mean, you. This is like basically everyone here composers, songwriters. Yes, yeah. So and I think we're so used to having to mix our own stuff a lot of the time, and so you have to get very good at doing it.
Yeah.
But it is pain. I find it pretty painful, and if I can hand it off to someone, when I can hand it off to someone, I am so excited.
So happy to do it. I know. Yeah. Well, it's also to gain perspective. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh, totally.
It's really helpful to have the space to set it down, at least to set it down.
And that's the
come back to
interesting
it.
thing also, like with collaboration as well, is I think when you have the right people that you're collaborating with and you trust them, then
Yeah.
like those kind of amazing things happen. But it's like a fine line of like letting it go and also being able to make sure that it's get your signature on it and that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. So do you have collaborators that you always work with all the time, that you bring in, like that you like sort of want for your mixing, or want someone to like do string arrangements for you or anything like that?
I have people that I absolutely love, and just my nature is to always want to just kind of keep experiencing what's new. It served me really well in my career, actually, of that, like my sort of fear of boredom or stasis or like ending up making the same thing over and over again kept making me take these left turns into new mediums and new fields, and I was just realizing how much I grow from doing something that I've never done before or working with someone I've never worked with before.
Yeah.
Now I've made mistakes and worked with people that I'm like, not you again.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
there are definitely people I come back to for sure. But there's so many wonderful artists in the world. I want to like know more and more of them.
Yeah. It's hard letting people into that intimate sort of space,
Yeah.
and trusting them with it and like being vulnerable in that way kind of thing. So I think like, I mean, I certainly have collaborators that I work with all the time as well. And
Yeah.
you do rely on them, but it is always really fun, I think, when you do work with someone new and you're like, oh, they know something different. How
Right.
fun is that?
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
it does like push you out of your comfort zone. You learn things, I
Yeah.
think, from working with other people as well, which I think is really good, because we all get so like,
And I
just
think
know
it's
how to
just
do this.
easy to get into habits, and then inevitably the thing you make starts to sound really similar to itself because
Yeah.
you're just
That's right.
making the same thing with the same people. And there's something also really sort of beautiful about that, of like really honing
People
something.
make very long careers out of doing that. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, that you sort of mentioned like the whole idea about you, like you do take some interesting terms, like you work in theater and you're working in film, and you every time when I was reading through all the things that you have been doing in the last say 20 years, I was like, wow, it's like, I'm like, is that on purpose, or have you kind of just followed? Do you follow what sort of is put in front of you, or is it sort of curated by
The
yourself?
only thing that was really on purpose was moving to New York City and attempting to work in theater for the first time. And that
Okay.
was because I was going into my second record, Kaleidoscope Heart, and I had just come off the road for that. And I started to have a little bit of a panic attack around the fact that as a recording artist, it's so cyclical and you can set your watch to it. It's just like, oh, I could see what the rest of my life would have looked like if I had just
Been on the road all the time.
just come home and take a break and then write a record and then go in the studio, make a record, go on tour. And then you're just like this, it felt like Groundhog Day, and I started getting panicky about it.
Okay.
So I took basically a year and I moved to New York. I kept my house in Venice and I moved to New York for a year just as like an experiment. And I auditioned for a Broadway show. I did not get it. I was very bad in the audition because I did not understand how difficult what I was trying to do was. And because I didn't get the role, I was sort of like floating around, and my agent at the time was like, they're looking, would you be up for a meeting to work on this project called Waitress? I was like, I've never seen the film, but I love Carrie Russell. Is she involved? She was not. And I had this meeting about Waitress, and my life very clearly falls into two categories, and it's before and after Waitress. And everything about my life is better as an artist, as a human being, because I said yes to this thing that I had no idea would be so fucking hard and so rewarding.
Right. I mean, do you like when things come your way now, do you think, oh, is this another Waitress moment? Is this gonna like take me in a completely different direction that is?
I think I was writing about this morning actually, that I think I feel more courageous as an artist because of
that.
Waitress.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because taking this big sort of risk, I mean, we were so lucky that it was successful, within its field, but I was so personally rewarded by this experience that I was like, well, I want more of that. I want to grow this much because I'm making something I love this much. And yeah, it was, yeah.
I mean, that's just such a great turn to happen.
Huge. Yeah.
It's so fun. So you in 2014 you performed with Carole King
Yeah.
at the Grammys.
And you even, I know.
I know. I can imagine that must have been like a real.
I was levitating.
Yeah.
I was levitating. And simultaneously, I was having a very intense crisis with my manager and would fire him the next morning.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
But I was
Because of that experience.
there was a whole mess of shit going on that actually had to do with some addiction, sadly. But it was one of those interesting moments where you're like, I can't believe how good this moment is and how bad this moment is all at the same time.
Okay, the juxtaposition of
Yeah.
Wow. Can you talk about like just thinking of Carole King, because she's definitely been like one of a big influence to me.
Sure.
I'm just curious, like, who are some of your greatest inspirations as songwriters?
Well, there was a lot of musical theater influence for me early. Like I would listen even to a lot of just like the classic.
Oh, me too.
I loved the storytelling. And then I think I got into artists that were told really vivid stories. So Joni, of course, Joni Mitchell. I loved the Indigo Girls. Ghost was a song I had on repeat for like 7 years. I loved Fiona Apple. I loved Carole King, obviously. I loved Bob Marley. I loved Radiohead. I loved Elton John, Billy Joel. I mean, I loved piano players. I'm trying to think of who else was I trying to steal their ideas and regurgitate them as my own. Yeah, that's like a good arsenal.
Yeah,
There.
no, for sure. Have you, in your travels now, I'm just curious, like, how many of those artists have you come into meet or like
Yeah.
have come across your path now? And like, what does that feel like to come across
That's so
those?
cool. I've never been asked that question. I've met a lot of them actually. Not Bob Marley. No.
That's good.
No.
I mean, all things considered.
Well, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah.
This would be a different kind of conversation.
Really different conversation. Yeah, because we'd both be somewhere
We'll
else.
see somewhere else.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah. I've met a lot of them actually. And it's something I feel really proud of, that like my heroes, have become in some ways
Your peers.
my peers. It's a
that's
really beautiful thing. And I still think, there's so much to learn from them. But yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, I think that everyone, when you start wandering around Hollywood a little bit and you start as a young teenager or whatever, looking at film scores or listening to songs and stuff like that. And, you end up in this crazy city kind of thing. All of a sudden, you start having these funny bumps with people that you might not necessarily have thought you would. And then, I don't know, there's something weird about it.
Totally.
I put my Madonna shirt on today because she's my all-time hero.
Have you met Madonna?
I've never met her. I feel terrified to meet her though. Like I feel like if that ever
What are you afraid of?
I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I don't
Like, are you afraid it will not be good?
Yeah,
Yeah, that she'll be mean or something.
something like that.
Yeah.
She'll probably just cut me down. It's like so hard, but I also like really want to meet Madonna.
Yeah.
Can you help?
What would you say to Madonna? Literally, no, I can't. But
No one can help. No, but she's just like on another. Yeah. What would I say? Oh God, let's not have this conversation. Maybe we have it another time.
okay.
Yeah. Is there anything else?
What if I open the door and I was presumed? Yeah.
I would literally I'd run and hide. Oh my God. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about in terms of the song and the film? Just to kind of, I don't know, if there's any other sort of background like stories or tidbits, like interesting side notes that no one would know about in terms of the process, or just, I don't know how you feel about it.
I just loved. I have never collaborated quite in this way before, so I write lyrics, and so working from a page of like some of the most beautiful and quirky and interesting perspectives. Like, I just like to say, keep the Novocaine out of my wisdom teeth. I want to feel it all. It's like, I would never write that line myself. But I'm like, as soon as I see it on the page, I'm like, that's fucking brilliant. And that's one of the things I love about Andrea's work. And I bought all their books, and highly recommend for the writers out there. Like, there's just a lot of inspiration to be taken, a lot of medicine from their work. And this collaboration was really unique, and it was a really joyful one. And I loved getting to celebrate our differences and making something together. That felt really beautiful.
Yeah, that's not, I mean, it's kind of like, it's a very unique way to come into a project, especially when you weren't thinking about it as anything to do with songwriting, is you're coming in as a creative kind of thing. And it must feel really, I don't know, it's just a beautiful thing to contribute. It's an incredible story, and it's a beautiful song.
Thank you.
And I think the whole thing is just like so inspiring. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to open it up now for the audience, because I'm sure there's like a million questions out there. Yeah.
I watched the film last night. It's just so brilliant. And I'm a huge Girls 5 Eva fan too, I just have to say. That's brilliant too. What was it about the Novocaine line that made you decide to have that be the chorus? Like, what about it wanted you to carry that through?
It felt sort of like a distillation of the thesis, kind of the film. It's like, I'm not here to avoid the pain, that I'm here to sort of stay broken open to all of it. The good, the bad, the ugly, the salt, the sour, the sweet. Like that, I just loved that, the resiliency of Andrea and Meg's spirit in that way, where there was no shutting down. And you even see it in the film over and over again. Andrea especially is like, vocalizes, when I get this shitty cancer number, and if I stay with this number, I'm just here with this shitty number. But when I open to the fact that this is just what's true, all this sweetness comes in, and I'm here with life in all of its, like, all the thorny bits too. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but I find that to be really, really beautiful, and it felt like such an Andrea line, like, to make wisdom teeth. I don't think I've ever heard those words in the song before.
Beautiful film, beautiful song. Thank you for sharing with us today. I'm curious if Andrea was involved at all in the collaboration once you got your hands on their piece.
Andrea was really, yes, they were. And they also were like, whatever you want. There was so much trust. There was so much trust in the filmmaking. Like, when the film, Ryan White, the director, talks about this a lot, like the day they arrived, they were just welcomed into everything. And I think I really admire that quality in Andrea as an artist. There's something to me that sort of speaks of their faith in the world, their faith in life force, like just that creativity is going to hold the moment in the way it needs to be held. And I think for the control freaks out there like myself, it's a really healthy lesson to come back to lean back into being held by whatever propels us forward, that we don't have to control every little thing. We couldn't possibly anyway, even if we tried. So it felt like a gesture of generosity and trust. And then they loved it, which was great.
It's kind of similar. When you worked with Ryan and Jess, the producer, I was so curious to, hear like us as composers. When we're scoring, it's like that's the point person. The director is the point person, or the producer. So for you, how was that process? With I guess like a lot of cooks in the kitchen, essentially. Did you have to, go through Ryan and Jess and see what they thought, or was it kind of like same thing where they were like, do your thing, and because it was a bespoke song written specifically for this, it's a little different than just, So I was just curious, what was the process with Ryan and Jess?
Yeah, I think, I sent the song. There was a lot of freedom. There was very little. The only direction that Andrea gave is that they didn't want people to leave and hear a sad song. They wanted something uplifting, and they really wanted something that was about how much they loved Meg. So it felt like, great, we're going to write a love song for Meg. That's perfect. And I am aware of I'm not going to write you a love song. And yes, I did. I did write them a love song. And
No pun intended.
pun very much intended. But I think I shared, whenever I'm in a project like this, either writing for TV or film or whatever, I really like to be a team player. And so if it's not serving the moment, there's every possibility that I could have chosen some direction that just didn't feel right. But I think there was just a lot of intuition in what was like needed in that moment. And then I think we got it right kind of out the gate. But I'm sure if it had felt wrong, they would have been like, hey, can we make some adjustments?
At what point in the process of the filmmaking was it like, oh, we're going to write a song? Like, how far through the production was that?
They were close to finished with the film at that point, and we had the poetry for a while, and it took me a while to actually sit down and watch the film. But once I watched the film, I was like, where's the sheets of, I was like, I know what this is. I could just sort of feel it kind of bubbling up. And the film used to end with a shot of the wind chimes. And so I started the song in the key of the wind chimes, which is what I was trying, but then they changed it. And I was like, well, now I'm just in this really random fucking key for no reason. No. But it was, it's that thing we were talking about. It was in response to,
Yeah. Amazing. Who else we got? Hi.
Hi. Hi. I watched a movie with my mom yesterday and we really loved it and we loved the song, but I was wondering, since it comes at the end of the film and the poetry was unfinished, how did you sort of manage to finish the poetry and know how to close it off? Yeah.
thank you. I think it was like as if there was the scaffolding was built for the building and I had to sort of just fill in the walls. So some things, I'm trying to think of an example. So I feel like the line, this might not be quite right, but what I sort of remember is Andrea had written something like, grief is a shortcut to the truth. And I loved that. I felt like that's where this begins. And grief has been a huge theme for me in the last handful of years. So I've been writing a lot about grief. So I think in trying to beef up that one line to be a full stanza, I wrote, grief is the singer of my band. She's a passenger van and a shortcut straight to the truth. So that it was like taking Andrea's words and then just sort of filling it in a little bit and always almost trying to write in their voice a little bit. Does that make sense? Okay.
Who else we got?
Have you dealt with anxiety?
Honey.
And what do you do to help cope with that? Because I know I myself deal with that a lot, and I'm sure others feel that way too. So
Yeah. So I am very, very intimately acquainted with anxiety and depression. And in our house, we sing Lexapro. You know, you make me better. So I've finally got on medication in 2021. Pandemic was like, I bottomed out. And all the things that I normally had done to manage my anxiety in particular. I'm sort of like an anxious depressive. So I dealt with dissociation and ruminating thoughts and all kinds of things. And meditation, therapy, exercise, sleep are like cannot exist without those things. And then the pandemic happened and I found a new low that I had sort of never found before, and I could not find the surface again. So finally, with a lot of encouragement from Joe, my husband, and threatening to leave. It was just those kinds of things. But
Just keep it real here.
yeah. No, he didn't do that, but it was bad. And I finally got on medication. And that has been something I talk really openly about because I never, as someone who's like, I love my feelings, I love my melancholy, and I genuinely do. I love my sadness, I love my depression, I love my anxiety. It makes me who I am. But when you hit a place in your life where you're out of balance, I'm dysregulated. I'm not functioning in the world as myself anymore. This other entity is kind of like driving. That has been an incredible tool that has been introduced to my life, that I am still on my 10 milligrams of Lexapro every morning, and has been a massive help to me. And some of what it has done is that it's just created a spaciousness around relating to the feeling of anxiety and just learning to accept that, like, this is a part of my life. I don't get a version of this trip around the sun where I don't have really outsized thoughts about things, where I don't ruminate, where I don't fixate, where I don't work myself up. Like, it's just, this is a part of my life here, and there's something to be learned from it. And the more I try to push it away, the more difficult the experience becomes. So everything that I do in my practices with my therapist, my meditations, is about trying to bring it closer. And usually that will be something like to comfort the sense of your anxiety, as if it was like a friend or a child, or just like, I got you. I'm here. You don't got to go anywhere. Settle in. You're fine.
thank you.
Is there something you do before you go on stage? Like, as a practice?
I really like, if I'm going on stage with other people, I mean, I do perform solo quite a bit. But if I'm going on stage with other people, I really like to just spend some minutes, just doesn't even have to do anything, just like being in the same room, just like energetically connecting and relating to each other. I always warm up.
Do you have a vocal, you have a strict vocal practice?
So I never did. I had like iron pipes for a long time, and I was so proud of myself. I could drink like a fish.
No one has ever, yeah.
I was in my 20s. I was like, I partied like crazy, and then I would just, no problem. And it's not the same story anymore. And I recently started working with Brandi's vocal coach, Rob Stevenson, who I absolutely adore. And I had to, when I went back into Waitress after the pandemic, I didn't have the stamina, I didn't have the flexibility. And of course, your voice is a muscle like anything else. It was very humbling to get to a place where I'm like, I need a teacher. And now I haven't been working with Rob recently. I haven't been doing a lot of singing, but he's probably my favorite.
Yeah, amazing. Any other questions? Are we up?
So I know that was kind of a dream situation. And
Truly.
I'm just curious, what's the next dream for you? Is there a project if you're ready to share even a hint, something that you would really love to create in the future?
Yeah. Well, I have two things, sort of three things kind of in the incubator. And the first is a new record, and it's written, it's recorded, we're mixing. I should have a record this year, which is, for anybody who actually follows my career, they're like, girl, what? Like average 9 years between records. That's normal, right?
Yeah, they're good when you get this.
I guess so. That's a lot of time.
No pressure.
So that's the first thing. And this record I've done a little differently. And one of the things we did differently was that I wanted to sort of democratize the recording and the producing, because I didn't want to work with one designated producer. I wanted to bring in collaborators, and we shared points and we shared credit and we did all the things. And so I brought some favorite collaborators, friends, bandmates into a studio upstate, and we made a little film about the making of this record. And so the film will be coming out to accompany the record, and the record is pretty intimate. It's all about grief, and I've had some pretty substantial loss, as a lot of people have had over the last 5 years. And I just, as I have said about wanting to bring the darkness closer, I sort of just went towards it. Andrea's featured on this record. I got them to, there's a poem that I feature in one of the songs that I wrote the day after I went to their show in Colorado. There's a lot in here, and I'm really proud of that. And then I'm writing a new musical at the same time. So yeah, there's a lot going on.
Exciting. I think there was a couple more. Yep.
I grew up listening to Brave when I was in middle school in India. I was born and raised there.
Amazing.
So for me to be able to even talk to you in person is like a dream come true. So
That makes me so old. That's fun. I love it.
thank you for being here and for sharing your journey. My question was, has there been any change between how you chose your collaborators back when you started out versus now?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think the truth is when you're just starting out, you get what you get sometimes. I'm in a very privileged position to be able to have the kind of discernment I have around who I work with, when I work, what I'm like. That is something that just has to be cultivated and earned over a long period of time. When I was starting out, who's the cheapest, who's available, who will call me back, all of those things. And I think you learn a lot from that too. I think you can't let perfect be the enemy of the good. Making the act of creation is a holy thing. And I think making things, even if they don't live up to your ultimate wish for them, there is still something really valuable in that. I think one thing I would do more of now, if I could go back, is allow myself more discernment around if someone was an asshole, and just, and not in an unkind way, but just be like, that's a hard line, that's just not, everyone who works with me is an absolute, a kind person. I think kindness is probably my number one sort of quality that I look for in a collaborator. I just think it's a really important in the world. The world's going great. So yeah, but I think,
To be an advocate for yourself, I think, is really a hard thing to learn, especially when you're starting out, because you feel like you just have to take every experience that is given to you, kind of thing, and you roll with it. And it is part of the learning experience, but I think it's like being an advocate for yourself and sort of standing up for yourself is,
I think it's valuable. And I do think there is something valuable to developing a little bit of a tough skin. I think it's okay. It's okay for things not to be perfect. Even, I think learning how to roll with that is important too. I think we can't collapse when things don't rise to meet our expectations. Otherwise, we'll never get anything done, never make anything. Because, our dreams for ourselves are impeccable. And experience is just always going to probably fall a few feet short of that.
Well, I think we have to wrap it up. Thank you so much. This was really awesome.
You want to ask a question? I just saw
Take
her.
it.
Yeah. She had her hand up, and I just don't want to leave.
Emily
it
read that.
hanging.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I wanted to say that I love your work, and your songwriting was very formative for me. I also love Jesus Christ Superstar since I was a child. Me too. Hear you say Magdalene Evans or was so cool for me. Thank you. But I wanted to know how has your songwriting changed from when you started to how it is now? Is your process any different?
I think my process was the most impacted by working in theater. And the thing that working in theater gave me was I don't even think how much I was subconsciously trying to write songs that would end up on the radio. Maybe my first record, I had a little more freedom. And then I got introduced to sort of the mechanism of the industry. And it's really hard to turn it off, to forget everything you know. And I even remember I had an experience where I was working with Pharrell, and that was the thing that he said to me. He's like, forget everything you know as you're going into the second record. And it's impossible it's a great piece of advice, but it's really hard to do. So it was really nice to change mediums completely because there is no version of theater where you end up on the radio, essentially. So I rediscovered so much play. And so, yeah, that's the big change is that I think Waitress made me feel more brave. Oh, God.
Amazing. All right.
On Spotify now.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you.